My friends and I decided to test our wives and took DNA tests together. We thought it would be a fun experiment. Later, when we gathered again to share the results, the room fell silent. As we opened the envelopes, we discovered something we never expected. Not long ago, I found myself caught in a situation that completely altered the lives of several families. And it all started with a joke. I was right there in the middle of it, even playing my part. Let me explain how it all unfolded. I'm 35 years old. I have a wonderful wife, Ira, and a little boy who's about to turn 5. All of my close friends are settled down, and every month, or so, we get together at one of our cottages. We've been a tight-knit group since childhood, so we made a pact years ago. No matter what, we drop everything and get together whenever we can, unless something truly urgent comes up. On the day that would end up being so pivotal, we gathered again for a barbecue, drinks, and plenty of laughter. It was a warm day, so the pool was open. The kids and the women were swimming while the rest of us were getting the food ready. Once the fun was in full swing, the women all went to the pool. It was then that one of the guys, Henry, mentioned how his son was growing up with a personality so different from his own that he felt like he didn't recognize him anymore. Physically, there wasn't much resemblance either. Jackson, always ready with a joke, chimed in, "Maybe he's not your kid then. You know they show those things on TV all the time." We all burst out laughing and then drank a few more rounds. That's when one of the guys suggested, in a half-joking way, that we all take DNA tests just to put our minds at ease. It wasn't that anyone actually suspected their wives. But after a few drinks, the whole conversation seemed to raise questions for everyone. After all, none of us could be completely sure. Could we? Only the women know what expressions they give. And even then, not always. We all agreed to reveal the test results at our next get-together. So my son and I went to the clinic too. A deal's a deal. They ran the DNA test. I should say right off the bat that my son looks just like me. Like my family. I had no doubt about it. Not until that moment. The results came back as expected. At our next meetup, everyone shared their results. It was a big gathering with tons of barbecue and almost as much cognac. This time, by unanimous decision, we left our wives at home. That's when Camillo laid it all out. "Guys, thanks for the idea," he said. But Evelyn turned out to be a stranger to me. The DNA test came back negative. We were all shocked. I mean, the questions came pouring in, mostly emotional ones. Not really about the details anymore. Then Camillo explained that his wife had denied it for ages, but eventually confessed after realizing how serious the whole thing was and seeing that the DNA test was real and couldn't be faked. It turns out the child was actually her younger brother's. They'd had a fling back when they were dating. After the wedding, they both pretended like nothing ever happened. So the daughter turned out to be his niece. By the way, Henry, whose joke had set all of this off, ended up being right. His kid was indeed his. His doubts were totally unfounded. But Camillo's wife spent a long time begging for forgiveness, acting like the test didn't even exist. She even tried to get us to sway Camillo. But he, being a man of principle, decided to do things right and revealed the truth at his brother's birthday party. They planned the celebration perfectly. Everyone was there, parents from both sides. It was quite a scene, let me tell you. Full-blown family drama with yelling, insults, and even physical blows. I felt most sorry for little Evelyn, a 7-year-old kid who understood exactly what was going on. She wasn't there for the argument, but later they told her that her dad wasn't her dad after all. Now he was her uncle. It's tragic when a little one has to bear the consequences of mistakes made by adults. On top of that, the parents were getting grayer by the minute. They're no spring chickens anymore, though. The grandparents still have their granddaughter. Camillo's brother still has one child, but his wife's raising a storm. I know she hasn't left yet, and I don't think she will. Where would she even go with 2 little kids? But honestly, I feel for Camillo. He's almost 36 and doesn't want to jump into a new relationship anytime soon. And now he only has 1 dog. I wouldn't wish this situation on anyone. In the first few days after the revelation, Camillo acted like he was fine. He showed up at our gatherings, tried to smile, made jokes here and there. But none of us were stupid. It was just a facade, and you could see in his eyes that the situation was still eating him alive. And how could it not? The guy found out that the daughter he had loved and raised for 7 years wasn't his. He discovered that his wife had cheated on him with his own younger brother long before their wedding, and yet had the audacity to pretend nothing had ever happened. He was deceived, used as a babysitter, a provider, a fool. And the worst part? That woman was still there, still living in his house, still acting like she had any right to be there, as if what she did could just be forgotten. It didn't take long for us to realize that Camillo wasn't taking any action. He kept saying he needed time, that he didn't want to act out of anger, that he had to think about Evelyn. But we knew the truth. He was paralyzed. He didn't want to admit that he had lost everything, that his entire life had been a lie. So we made a decision. If Camillo wasn't going to do anything, we would. We met on a Saturday night, without him knowing. We talked about how absurd the whole situation was, how he couldn't keep living like this. He was practically being a doormat for his wife and brother, who were now living in his house as if nothing had happened. Henry got straight to the point. If he won't act, we will. And that's how we made our plan. The following week, we scheduled a barbecue just like we always did. Camillo came, unsuspecting. He looked exhausted, drinking more than usual, tried to pretend everything was fine. But in the middle of the conversation, Henry brought it up. Have you dealt with that situation at your house yet? Camillo avoided eye contact. Took another sip of beer. I'm still thinking about what to do. That confirmed what we already knew. He wasn't going to do anything. While he was there, distracted by the drinks and conversation, Jackson and the others went to his house. They grabbed his wife's bags and threw them out. All her clothes, her belongings, and even the brother's things. And they didn't do it politely. Everything was tossed onto the lawn, scattered on the sidewalk. The woman came running outside, screaming hysterical, saying this was outrageous. You can't do this, she shrieked. This house is mine too. Jackson laughed right in her face. No, it's not. You lied to Camillo for 7 years. You cheated on him with his own brother. This house was never yours, and now, finally, you're going where you belong, the street. That's when Camillo's brother showed up. The bastard had the audacity to try and act tough, standing in front of her like he was going to protect her. Henry, always the strongest of the group, grabbed the guy by the collar and shoved him against the wall. You slept with your brother's wife, he growled. You made him raise your daughter as his own. You destroyed his family. And now you think you get to stay here like nothing happened? The guy tried to fight back, tried to break free, but Henry didn't give him a chance. Jackson stepped closer and spat on the ground. You have 10 minutes to get out of here before we call the cops and report 2 intruders in this house. The woman started crying, saying this wasn't fair, that she had nowhere to go, that Evelyn needed a home. But none of us felt even the slightest bit sorry for her. Meanwhile, at the barbecue, I got a message saying everything was ready. So I looked at Camillo and said, "You should go home." He frowned. Why? Because now your house is yours again. It took him a moment to understand. When he realized what we had done, his face turned pale. He got mad. You guys shouldn't have done that. But we knew that was just the shock talking. He didn't understand it yet, but deep down, this was exactly what he needed. He drove home. When he arrived and saw everything, his wife and brother's bags on the street, the 2 of them yelling, not knowing where to go, it finally hit him. He looked at us, looked at the scene, and for the first time since this whole mess started, he took a deep breath. Like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. His wife tried to run to him, to beg, to say he couldn't do this. But Camillo didn't respond. He didn't even look at her. He just walked inside and shut the door. And that's how he finally started to break free. As for her and the brother, no one really knows what happened next. But we heard rumors that they stayed at their parents' house for a while. That she tried to sue Camillo for money but failed because the house was always in his name. And Camillo? It took him a while to recover, but little by little, he became the man we once knew again. And we made sure he was never played for a fool again. Because real friends don't let a brother sink without a fight. After everything that happened, we thought the storm had passed. But we knew that, even though Camillo was trying to move on, there was still something haunting him. He didn't talk about it much, but we all knew. He missed Evelyn. No matter that she wasn't biologically his daughter. He had raised her for 7 years. He had taught her how to ride a bike, read her bedtime stories, attended school meetings, and held her hand when she was sick. In his heart, Evelyn would always be his daughter. Our wives found out about everything we had done shortly after we kicked out the traitor and Camillo's brother from his house. To our surprise, none of them scolded us. On the contrary, they supported our decision. Some even said they would have done worse. Others praised our loyalty to Camillo. What mattered was that, for the first time in a long while, he wasn't alone. We started spending more time with him. At first, he was distant, still trying to process everything. But we didn't let him isolate himself. If he skipped our gatherings, we went to his house. If he didn't answer his phone, we knocked on his door. And little by little, he started to become the Camillo we once knew. Even so, sometimes we caught him staring at nothing, lost in thought. We knew what it was. He missed Evelyn. He didn't have to say it. We could tell. And it bothered us because deep down it wasn't fair. The breaking point came during a barbecue, months later. We were all together, laughing, talking, when, out of nowhere, Camillo went silent. He was watching the kids running around the yard playing. He tried to hide it, but we all noticed. It was that look, that weight in his chest. Henry spoke first. "You miss her, don't you?" Camillo sighed and rubbed his face, as if he didn't want to admit it. "Of course I do. How could I not? I raised that girl, but she's not my daughter. I have no right to her." We exchanged glances. We had talked about this before. We all agreed that it was unfair, and we had already thought of something. Jackson got straight to the point. "What if you did have that right?" Camillo frowned. "What do you mean?" That's when we revealed it. For weeks, each of us had chipped in some money, little by little. We had researched family law attorneys and found one who believed Camillo could at least get shared custody. He might not have been the biological father, but he was the only father Evelyn had ever known. The lawyer thought there was a real chance he could get to spend at least a few days a week with her. Camillo shook his head. "This is crazy. I can't do that." "Yes, you can," Henry said, "and we're doing this together." He resisted. He said he didn't want to stir things up again, that he was afraid of how it would affect Evelyn, that maybe it was better to just leave things as they were. But we knew he was afraid. Afraid of getting attached again. Afraid of being disappointed. "You always said you'd do anything for Evelyn," I said. "So do this. Fight for her." He was quiet, took a deep breath, and finally he agreed. The legal battle was long and exhausting. His ex-wife tried to block it, saying he had no right to the girl. His brother stayed silent, probably too ashamed to interfere. But the lawyer was firm. Camillo might not have been the biological father, but he had been the only father the girl had ever known. The judge listened to the arguments, read the documents, analyzed the evidence. Then the decision came: shared custody. Camillo could have Evelyn with him for a few days every week. It wasn't everything he wanted, but it was enough. The day he saw her again was emotional. Evelyn ran straight into his arms, crying, saying she had missed him. He held her tight, as if afraid she would disappear again. And at that moment, we knew we had done the right thing. After that, it was like Camillo had been made whole again. He started smiling for real again. He went back to work with more energy. He met new people, and, in time, even started dating someone. He wasn't in a hurry, but he no longer looked at the future as something empty. Then, on an ordinary night, during another barbecue with friends after a few beers, he looked at us and shook his head, laughing softly. "You guys are the best friends in the world," he said, wiping a tear before anyone could notice. "But never again should we do anything Henry suggests." We all burst out laughing. He did too, that genuine laugh we hadn't heard in a long time. And that's when we knew it had all been worth it. Years have passed, and looking back, I realized just how much has changed since that day we opened those DNA test envelopes. We never imagined that a joke among friends would lead to such a massive upheaval, changing lives in ways no one could have predicted. Camillo? Today he's doing well. Really well. Actually, after all the chaos, he rebuilt himself. It wasn't overnight, of course. There were tough moments, times when he questioned whether he had made the right decisions. But in the end, he came out stronger. He's financially stable now, expanded his career, and even moved to a new house. He said he needed a fresh start, somewhere without so many painful memories. He still has his dog and now a new life. After some time, he started dating an amazing woman, someone who truly respects and values him. They've been together for a while, taking things slow, building something real. Evelyn? She's growing up fast. The shared custody arrangement worked out better than we expected. At first, Camillo's ex tried to make things difficult, but after a while, she realized she couldn't stop it. The girl has always loved her Daddy Camillo, as she still calls him, and it was clear that taking him out of her life would only hurt her. Now, every week, Camillo spends time with her. They go on trips, have fun, and he has never missed a single birthday. She already understands a lot, and with time, she'll understand even more. The most important thing is that despite everything, she still has a father figure who never abandoned her. The rest of our group is still as close as ever. If we were inseparable before, we're even more so now. After everything we did for Camillo, it became clear that our friendship was more than just casual meetups and jokes. We were willing to do whatever it took for each other. Our wives are still by our sides. And to this day, some of them say that was the moment that proved we were ready to face anything together. Every time we get together, the story comes up again. Someone always jokes about how it all started with a stupid comment and ended up in family court. And Henry? He's still Henry. Even now, every time he suggests something, someone looks at Camillo and asks, do we follow the plan or just ignore it from the start? And Camillo laughs, shakes his head, and says, we're never following one of Henry's ideas again. But the truth is, without that crazy idea, he wouldn't be where he is today. In the end, life moved on. We all did. But that experience taught us something important. There are things you simply can't predict. Sometimes, the truth comes out when you least expect it. But what matters most isn't what you discover. It's who stands by your side when everything falls apart. And Camillo? He rebuilt his life. And we're still here, ready for anything. Because if we've learned one thing, it's that real friends don't let a brother sink. And as much as we joke about Henry, maybe, just maybe, it's worth listening to his ideas every once in a while. But only maybe.